When I say science fiction, you think aliens, spaceships, and lasers, not a madman with affairs, a screwdriver, and a 1960s police telephone box. Doctor Who is a science fiction TV show that started all the way back on November the 23rd, 1963, making it the longest running science fiction TV series in the world. The show follows the character of the Doctor, travelling through time and space in his spaceship disguised as a blue box called the TARDIS, where he visits different planets and encounters aliens and enemies. The Doctor is a Time Lord from the planet Gallifrey and has lived for over 2,000 years, with a magical ability to change their face when they are dying. And with the newest season of the show fast approaching, today I'm going to be discussing how Doctor Who deals with genre theory within a sci-fi context. I will be mainly looking at the new series revival from 2005 onwards. The word genre comes from the French and originally Latin word for kind or class. The term is widely used in media theory to refer to a distinctive type of text. The Cambridge Dictionary describes genre as a style, especially in the arts, that involves a particular set of characteristics. Doctor Who's genre is obviously science fiction, but it also has aspects of other genres like fantasy and adventure, with Lerpinger adding it's difficult to determine a fixed genre for Doctor Who. He continues by saying Doctor Who is a unique case because there is a flux of genres, sometimes even between single episodes, while the protagonist seemingly stays the same. To support the argument that Doctor Who is a science fiction show, let's look at the different elements it has to offer. Lerpenberg describes the Doctor as a prototypical science fiction protagonist, especially if one considers the connotations of science and learning his name carries, because of the character's intelligence and knowledge of the universe. The audience doesn't always understand what the Doctor is talking about or explaining, and that's the job of the companion to be the audience surrogate, so they can ask the questions the audience is thinking as well. Another aspect of the show which is heavily linked to the science fiction genre is the spaceship called the TARDIS, which is bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. Clearly this is impossible in real life, but in the show operates on a scientific basis, with Lerpenberg describing it as the novum, novelty innovation, validated by cognitive logic, which defines science fiction for Suvin. Suvin explained, a novum of cognitive innovation is totalizing phenomenon or relationship deviating from the author's implied reader's norm of reality. The plot of Doctor Who is very simple, with the Doctor landing literally anywhere in time and space, given infinite possibilities and genres. One week could be a horror with the weeping angels making children hide behind the sofa, which is commonly associated with Doctor Who. The next could be a light-hearted, fun adventure. Throughout the different eras of the show, each era or season gives off a different feeling and sometimes more emphasis on particular genres. If we look back at Matt Smith's first series as the Doctor in Series 5, the show clearly goes for a more fantasy feel to the show. For example, in the first episode, The 11th Hour, the Doctor crashes into the back garden of Little Amelia Pond when she wishes for someone to come help her fix the crack on her wall. Although the audience knows the show isn't a fantasy show, the genre of science fiction has always had close links with the genres of the fantastic, the weird and the horror. Lerpenberg adds that it's difficult to find a series in television that does not blur lines between genre borders. Chandler says that some genres are more powerful than others, which sometimes is a good thing and other times isn't. For example, the most recent series of Doctor Who starring Ncuti Gatwa goes for a more mythical fantasy feel to the show, featuring gods and mythical creatures. The show has featured gods before, with characters like Sutekh, the Celestial Toymaker, and the Beast. But the characters' powers were restricted because they were captured, so they never used any magic powers or anything like that. But in the recent series, Sutekh returns and kills all life in the galaxy, with the Doctor resolving the issue by saying, what happens if you bring death to death? You bring life, which to me makes no sense at all. With gods and mythical creatures, the show seems to defeat these gods with ease without making much sense, getting rid of the suspense and the stakes. At the start of the episode, everyone gets killed, with you knowing this will be resolved at the end. This is an example of the show not taking advantage of the fantasy genre and inevitably using multiple generic conventions and strategies. Moving on, The sci-fi and horror genre have been used together for years, with films like Alien giving iconic quotes like "No one can hear you scream in space." Doctor Who over the years have produced many frightening horror episodes like Blink, Midnight and Night Terrors. But Doctor Who have one monster who are scary not because of what they look like, but what they are. Boone says that science fiction is that genre of film and television that most often explores the philosophical significance of the technological age, with it frequently illustrating the dangerous consequences of pursuing happiness through technological means. He adds that the consequences include the abolition of man and the destruction or removal of what makes us human. The Cybermen are the horror of what we can become. The Cybermen is a perfect example of a blend of science fiction and horror, with the idea of humans becoming emotionless and faceless in order to survive. They are scary because they are a depiction of what we will become. With these stories, the writers can push the boundary and tell a message through the genre of science fiction. For example, in 2006 in the episode Rise of the Cybermen, everyone in a parallel world have these earpieces that download information into the brain and later controls people. The earpieces are very similar to AirPods, which didn't release until 10 years later in 2016. As you can see, Doctor Who takes full advantage of the science fiction genre, offering different genres and concepts majority of the time, while still keeping the core feel of the show intact. Although some genres don't match the tone of the show, like the musical genre, the beauty of the show gives the opportunity for the show to experiment with it, and if it doesn't work, to move on. Recognizable and established category of written work, employing such common conventions as will prevent readers or audiences from mistaking it from another kind. So, as long as the main characteristics of the show remain, of the Doctor travelling across time and space in the TARDIS, any genre goes.